This episode is brought to you by Muntins Malts, a company that is passionate about providing premium malts to brewers worldwide. For over a century, Muntins has been a leading supplier of brewing and distilling malts, offering the finest British malted barley on the market. You can experience the difference Muntins offers by joining a recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club, because every kit that ships out now includes premium Muntins malt. You know, we've known the Muntins crew for a long time, and I can tell you, friend, you're going to love brewing with their grains. Ask your local supply shop to carry Muntins malts, or homebrewers can join our Trub Club at homebrewhappyhour.com/club, be a part of the community, and come brew with us. Thank you, Muntins, for supporting our efforts and homebrewers worldwide. Today's show is brought to you by Hopsdirect.com. Grown in the esteemed Yakima Valley on the Pewterball family farm, Hopsdirect.com offers the widest variety of hops available online at incredibly competitive pricing. It's simple. They grow hops, they sell hops, and they ship hops straight from their family-owned farm to your doorstep. Producing the highest quality hops is Hopsdirect.com's passion, and they're proud to be an independent grower in the craft beer industry. Go to Hopsdirect.com right now and get what you need to make your brew day better. That's Hopsdirect.com. Today's show is brought to you by Imperial Yeast. You hear us gushing over Imperial Yeast all the time, and that's because their yeast performs for us in every batch that we brew. Imperial Yeast is adored by commercial breweries and home brewers alike. Their pitch-right pouches are jam-packed with over 200 billion fresh yeast cells, guaranteed to deliver flawless, fast fermentations every time. Imperial Yeast strains are grown by a team of pro brewers and home brewers who live to help other brewers learn more and ferment better. Join any recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club and get a free upgrade to premium Imperial Yeast with every recipe kit that ships out to you. Learn more at homebrewhappyhour.com/club and come brew with us.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
What it takes to start judging beer, a recap of Kolsch Cup, and lots more with Jonathan Marut. This is Homebrew Happy Hour, episode 436. Well, hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. And if you, my friends, have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, you could go to homebrewhappyhour.com. You could email Joshua at homebrewhappyhour.com. Even better, call it in to 325-305-6107. Listen to my voice for a little bit. Leave a message after the beep. When I use your question or feedback, preferably question, on a future episode, get yourself a gift card to kegconnection.com. I am your host, Joshua Stubing. Today, I am joined by the 2024 Kolsch Cup World Champion, the 2024 Alt Pokal World Champion, and longtime friend of the show, our good buddy, Mr. Jonathan Marut. My friend, how are you doing today?
Oh, very good.
I appreciate you joining us. Super
other side of the world.
Yeah, other side of the world.
Side of the world.
Super early, not super early for me. I'm awake at this time normally, but I appreciate it because this was so last minute. Literally less than 24 hours ago, I'm messaging you. Are you free to do an episode this week? Please, I can't get Todd and James to do it. Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Todd.
I'm doing math in my head. I'm like, hey, let me figure out this time difference, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, I can do it.
I could.
So.
Okay, yeah, you're the man.
Yeah.
And I say,
Okay.
to be fair, I didn't actually ask James. It was Todd. The original plan. So Todd came into town this week where I'm at, St. Marcus, and I've been driving Miss Daisy this whole week. I was his chauffeur. No, we were collectively. He let me sit in the meeting, so I felt like an adult. But just visiting customers all over San Antonio and Austin, and I mean, especially the Austin trip.
I was all over Austin. I was worried when he told me, "Hey, we're going to do San Antonio and Austin," and I was thinking, "Oh, San Antonio! You're from Texas, you know it is sprawling." So I thought,
Yeah.
like, what side of town, boss? And he's like, "I don't know. It's fine, no biggie." The Austin trip was the worst part. The meetings were great. The customers, potential customers, we met with a lot of installers. We met with people, homebrew shops, whatever. In Austin, there's one homebrew shop. Surprise, we met with SoCo. But anyway, when driving around Austin, the traffic also makes it seem worse because it's like, oh, we're only going to go, 26 miles that way. An hour and 40 minutes later, you're like, still, oh, I know. It just reminded me, Austin traffic is a bummer. Yeah. Yesterday in San Antonio, though, we were just zipping around town. I was thinking,
cool.
Yeah, I was like, oh, maybe
I saw you had those cool pictures on Facebook of some place you went to with the tap tower.
Yeah, Global Dispense is their name. They're the cool guy, Ron something. Sorry, Ron, he doesn't want it. He's not going to watch this. Yeah, Ron something. Ron Burgundy. I liked. He was a good guy. I liked him, and his showroom was just so impressive. They make those towers. He does make faucets too. So like we're showing him. We are both customers of each other's from CM Becker, and we're showing him our faucets, and he liked them, but he was like, "But get this," and then showing us in San Antonio, Texas, manufacturing stuff. Who would have thunk?
Really?
Yeah. Wow. It was cool. It was a cool trip. But anyway, I do appreciate your time coming from overseas. We were kind of small talking before I hit the record button. And so if any of those things we talked about, I made you repeat, my bad. That's just how it works. I think I told you Todd hates it. So we will, if we're waiting on James or if James and I are waiting on Todd, we're not going to sit in silence, so we'll small talk and have this and that, and then we'll talk about something inevitably I wanted to include on the show. And so then while we're recording, I'll say that. I'll be like, oh, da, 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 da. And Todd will be like, I feel like we've already talked about this. And I'll be like, yeah, dummy, we talked about it 10 minutes before we hit record. It would be good for people to hear. He's like, I don't like doing that. That doesn't, no, I don't like that.
That's funny.
Anyway, Todd he had to bail on me this week. He is now heading out of town going towards Port Aransas, and just didn't have the time yesterday, which I think we just spent too much time together. That's what that meant when he was like, we can't make time. He was like, we spent too much time together.
So no recording for you, huh?
No, yeah. So that's what I messaged you. I was like, I messaged you literally 2 minutes after he said, I don't think we'll have time to do it. So it was the day before yesterday, or it was yesterday morning. It was, you're right. Cause it was like my time, like 8:15 a.m. Cause we were loading up the car and I was like, are we gonna be able to record this afternoon? Record? What do you mean record? Oh, never mind, boss. Yeah, you are all the way over there. I was telling you a little bit how, I mean, I know you world travel. I don't. I was just on a cruise and we were talking about the beer selection and I actually found it. So for people who are just listening, I didn't really recap the cruise except that, the craft beer selection wasn't that great. Jonathan this morning was asking me what was available. And a lot of people have actually asked me that because I got on this kind of Asahi kick and some people were like, a rice lager. Come on, Josh. Why are you like, you get a better shtick. Let's do something about this. And I found actually the definitive list of the beer that was available. So let me tell you, on this ship I was on, Blue Moon, Belgian White, a Sam Adams Boston Lager, Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, Sierra Nevada Hazy Little Things, a Terrapin Luau Crunkles IPA, the Terrapin Moo Hoo Stout, and then domestic macros, Bud, Coors, Michelob, Miller High Life, Miller Lite. And then imported was Corona, Dos Equis, the Polliner, the Hefe, the Wheat, the Red Stripe, Stella Artois, and Pilsner Urquell. And then the sushi shop had the Asahi. So that I don't know why it didn't make it on their beer list. I went onto the ship not knowing it was on there. And I found it accidentally. I actually started drinking Pilsner Urquell's my first beer because it was on a beer menu at a place. I love Urquell, but I did want to switch it up because I don't always go and buy Asahi. From that list, what would you have picked from what they had available? Because I feel like I'm, not by you necessarily, but I feel like I'm getting judged by some audience members that I went with Asahi.
Yeah, I mean, if I was at the sushi joint eating sushi, I'd probably have that, but I wouldn't drink it all week. I'd probably drink some of that Sierra Nevada Pale Ale and hazy little thing. And I don't know. There's a few IPAs on there I don't think I've tried. So yeah, I probably would have done that.
Yeah,
I'm going on a cruise in a few weeks myself.
Oh,
and so I'm wondering what we're going on Norwegian up to Alaska, and the ship we're going on has a craft beer bar. So I'm wondering what they're going to have. So now that you told me that there's a website that tracks all this stuff,
dude, there is. This is a free shout out to it's profcruise.com, PROF cruise.com. And this is the Carnival bar menu and drink prices 2025. Because I was trying to do the math, Carnival has a drink package. My in-laws have status with Carnival, and apparently the whole loyalty program just got thrown upside down. So I have no idea if they're going to continue to be loyal, but they've been cruising with Carnival for 20 years. And my father-in-law has the top status, which is like diamond or something. It was great for us as people in his party or extended party, because I did have to pay for myself. That was a bummer. But he would flash his diamond card and Mr. Daly, come on in here. Oh. But it didn't get me free beer. And so I was doing the math for the drink package, and Carnival's drink package, every adult in your cabin, so my wife and I would have had to get it. My wife wasn't going to get her money's worth. You'd have to spend like $90 a day, or I might be making that up or rounding up.
Yeah.
And she couldn't do it on alcohol.
No, on ours, because I've heard that before. On some cruise lines, it is like $90 a day, but on ours, it's like 30 a day. So it's like 3 drinks.
No brainer.
It's like 3 drinks.
Yeah.
Easy.
No brainer.
Even my wife loves 3 drinks.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. If it was like, because the drink, so the beer, Asahi was one of the cheaper ones. That's why I ended up switching too. It was, they force tips on you. I mean, you could go out of your way to like, I don't want you to force tips on me. I'll do it myself. But I didn't want to be that guy. So they force 18% on you. I did, the Asahi was like $7.25 or $7.50, and then plus tips, rounding $9, where other beer were $10. But I was mostly drinking gin and soda. I just didn't want to look like an alcoholic on my Instagram and post all the gin and soda I was drinking. I'm told that's the alcoholics drink.
So we go into the sushi place all the time? You go to the sushi place every time to get this beer? Or?
I would have to walk by. So it was so cool, dude. The first night I went by there, it was like literally the first night of the cruise. We were walking. It's on the Lido deck, or the 5th deck, where a lot of stuff was. And so our room was in the back of the ship. We'd go up to the 5th floor and then just walk the distance to wherever we were trying to go. And if we had the elevator up or down, we would do that on the 5th, because the 5th just had a lot going on. When we walked by it that first night, it was like right after we got on the boat and got into our rooms, I see Asahi go, ooh. Well, it was that night because I'd already had a Pilsner Urquell. Either way, I was like, honey, hold on. I'm going to stop here. And it's like a restaurant style place. So you have to technically get seated. So I'd have to go up to the stand where people are waiting to be seated and then just say, I just want an Asahi super dry. And the lady the first night looked at me kind of funny. He's like, oh, you don't want to sit down and eat? No, ma'am, I'm just a functioning alcoholic. Can I get the Asahi and go on my way? And so we later that night, my wife and I stayed up for a comedy show, and we're walking back, and it's the same lady, and she said, "Oh, Asahi," and I was like, "Oh yeah, you know what? Let me get another one." Every time we walked by her, and she was there, she'd say, "Sir, is it Asahi time?" And I was like, "It is, yeah." You know what? It is. She started selling me 2 together. I won't name drop. No one from Carnival's will listen to this. Barely dozens of people listen. I don't want to get her in trouble, but she was giving me a heck of a deal when I bought 2 at a time, which is what then kind of towards the end of the cruise swayed my drinking habits from gin and soda and Pilsner Urquell for sure to Asahi, because it was just cheap. And she made it worth it. She's like, oh, 2, and gave me a real good deal. And I was like, yeah, I'll buy 2. She did tell me the last day my wife and I walked by there, and the lady did tell me, you're the only person buying this on this ship. I was like,
that's hilarious.
Isn't that funny?
There's thousands of people on the ship, and you have your own supply.
I'm the only,
super dry.
I'm the only person doing it. And they were tall boys too. There's 16 ounce.
Oh yeah.
Asahis, but what is? I never even looked on the can. Is it even 5%? I can't imagine. Asahi super dry.
I would think it's probably 4.5, 5 now.
Yeah. What does it say here? The old Google, the super dry is 5%. Yeah, that's perfect for me. That's right up my alley. Anyways, I'd be remiss. That, you know what? People are going to be like, oh, you just told about this or that. I didn't have a structured show but 10 minutes ago because Jonathan did me such a favor. Let me get through the actual small talk real quick, guys. Patreon.com/homebrew happy hour. Last call for the Comanche Moon Summer Ale. It is one of Todd's absolute favorites, and he tweeted it. I believe the aroma hop, he made it Belma because he just loved how much hops direct that is specific to hops direct. And he loved how much Belma turned out in, I forgot what we did with it. I think we just did a Belma American Pale Ale is what we did with it last year. I can't remember the Belma recipe, or maybe it was an IPA. A Belma, either way, Todd loved that hop, so he made that, and I believe Magnum is the bittering hop, so should be a good combo. You're probably gonna get some grapefruit, if I had to imagine, off of that combination, but it'll be good. Patreon.com/homebrew happy hour. Brew Day Live. Speaking of Asahi Super Dry, my dad and I are not doing a Comanche Moon. We are brewing, I'm calling it the Karakuchi, which means dry in Japanese. I am culturally appropriating an entire people because I went on a cruise, and we are doing the Brew Day Live tomorrow, June 27th, 2025 at 10 a.m. Central, live at youtube.com/homebrew happy hour. Come join the fun. Could not be more excited about that, which let me actually, before we get into judging a beer and what it tastes in Kolsch Cup, I'm doing a rice lager. This is the first.
Yeah.
First off, have you ever brewed a rice lager? I've brewed a cream ale, never done a rice lager.
No, I have not. I have not done right. There's some demand amongst the guys that I brew with for me to do one, and I'm just kind of resistant to the idea.
Well, why are you hating? Why are you such a hater? What is going on?
I'm like, if you want that beer, just buy it. You
sound like Todd. You literally sound like Todd. That is so annoying that you sound just like Todd, because I asked him, when we went to lunch in Austin on Tuesday, we went to a Thai place and they had super dry, and he was like giving me crap. Oh, you just get super dry? I go, you know what? Screw you. I am. Sahi, please. And so he got one, and he was like, I haven't had this in forever. It's actually way better than I thought. Because he was worried. When I told him I'm brewing the super dry clone, he was like, oh, it's so boring. Why are you so boring? If I want a keg of nothing, I'll just get like bottle, I'll just keg nothing. I was like, oh, ha, ha, ha. But is it because it's just so plain? It's not like worth your time? Like what? Like it's just not a style that interests you.
Yeah, it's just not a style that interests me, I guess. Yeah, it's just, I did a Mexican lager recently, which if you do, both of those are going to be in the same BJCP category. And I did a Mexican lager recently, and it was interesting because we talked a little bit about this. If you go to Mexico and if you go to a craft brewery and you look at their whole menu, you're not going to see a Mexican lager on there. It's going to be, all the stuff you find in the US. It's going to be IPAs and Kolsch and alt beer and all that, but there's not going to be a Mexican lager on there. If you want Mexican lager, you can get it. You can get Corona and all that other stuff down there, but you're not going to find that. And I think it's the same way with Japan. You're not going to see those kinds of beers there either. At least it's not on a craft scale.
Right. So only macro. Only Sapporo, Ichiban, Asahi. So there is no well, but I don't even know. You go to Japan way more obviously than I've ever been, because I've never been. Is there? I don't even know the craft scene there. Is it IPAs and stuff?
Yeah, it's all that kind of stuff. Yeah, same kind of stuff as in the US.
No, why? When we were hanging out with the Muntins crew the first time they came to the States, and we're at a craft beer bar in was it Rhode Island, or I forget which homebrew con it was. Either way, there's an ESB at this place, and we're like, oh, let's all get an ESB, and they're like, mate, we don't drink that. They're all ordering hazies and doubles and stuff, and I'm like, wait, what is going on? Why can't people fit into my racial stereotypes? Oh, And then I made a fool of myself with the story that Todd made me promise to never tell, because I used a word that I thought the Brits used a lot, and it turns out they don't. And so Egg on my face.
Cultural appropriation.
Yeah, culture. Dude, I'm a chameleon when it comes to. Look at my office. I've been so obsessed with Japanese people. My wife is like, they're going to be offended. But one of my good friends is half Japanese, and he loves it. And he's like, he's going to buy me one of the pillows to make me officially a weeb. You know, that's what the.
There you go.
No, don't encourage me.
So what are you doing for your rice lager recipe? I heard you said you were going to use a new yeast.
I am. So yeah,
Imperial.
let me give you the breakdown. So Imperial came out with a strain that they're calling Kenpai, which I think it means cheers in Japanese. And so I had them send me a bunch of it in case I like this recipe. I'm going to try. And my understanding is I'm the first home brewer to get this strain because it's a commercial strain that they will pouch. I had to wait a week or two for them to pouch it, but my understanding is I'm the first home brewer to get this.
Nice.
So I'm doing a 10-gallon batch. So with that in mind, that context, I'm doing 11 pounds of lager malt from Muntins, a pound of carapils from Muntins, and then 6.5 pounds of cooked rice, 2.25 pounds of rice hulls. And then I'm using Saaz, 2 ounces for the full boil, and then an ounce at 15. So you know what? Here, I'll ask you this again. I like digressing because you're not going to stop me. I actually have flaked rice as well. In your opinion, Johnny on the spot, can I substitute 1-for-1 cooked rice with flaked rice?
I do not know.
Ah, good. You don't even want to pretend like me and Todd do. Like James always admits when he doesn't know.
Yeah, that's something you because I told you I was thinking about doing one of these things, and so I did a little bit of looking, but I don't remember. And I know there is some like one way you do it, it has enzymes, and the others it doesn't, and you gotta kind of watch out for that. So. I did a Google search and I also did not find a definitive answer. And so I was really kind of hoping you knew. That kind of really puts a bummer into the start of this day for me, Mr. Marut. Yeah.
I'm
going to have some additional research required.
Yeah. Chat GPT is useless. I'm going to have to ask a real person. Oh, you know who I'll call? I'll call Lorena. Lorena will have probably some insight, some input. That is it. I will message her.
She may laugh at you.
She's gonna. We're Facebook friends.
Why are you making it?
And also, more times than not, when I reach out to her, she'll be like, "I meant to tell you, you're an idiot from this post you made." I'm like, Lorena, you can't tell me anything every other person in my life hasn't already told me. So, but yeah, that's the Asahi clone. I kind of came up. So it's not a completely original as much as finding what other people have tried, but a lot of people who did rice lagers in the old forums, or at least the first page of Google, I didn't really go past that. It was older post, and it was people using extracts and syrups for rice substitutes. So it is not a style that's popular with any home brewer. If it makes you feel better, Jonathan, like no home brewer is like, oh, super dry on tap. Oh, that sounds great. Anyway,
well, I mean, it's a challenge to make, right? Because if you screw it up, it's going to be like extremely obvious.
Yeah. That's what.
It's the same thing with Mexican lager. There's not a big hop charge to cover it up. And,
no,
it's going to be very obvious.
It will be extreme. And I feel that way though. You know, speaking of Lorena, she made a recipe in honor of her pop, and she calls it Bob Toots Cream Ale, and it's delicious. And I feel like that's also a recipe that we've brewed where if you mess it up, you're going to tell immediately because there's just not a lot going on. You know, corn, rice, lager malt. I forget if we use 05 or the Imperial flagship. I imagine that's what we use for it. And then, you drink it and you're like, it's either good or it's not. It's like there's no middle ground. And Kolsch as well, my favorite style of all time. A vendor took us to lunch in Austin, and they had a local Kolsch. I won't throw the people under the bus. It's not the one in Fredericksburg. It's an Austin brewery. And I liked it. I liked this Kolsch, and Todd drinks it. And Todd this is my segue right now into Kolsch Cup. Todd did what he did at Kolsch Cup that annoys me, where he'll either say it out loud or he'll write it down. It's a good beer, but it's not a good Kolsch. And
but
that's
it's
like,
not a Kolsch.
yeah, like that's not you can't quantify that in a scorecard, dude. Like, so this Kolsch from this local brewery that's on tap, I drink it, dude. It's a Kolsch, and it's a great Kolsch. And he's like, that's a good beer. It's not a Kolsch. I'm like, what do you mean by that? It's not a Kolsch. No, that's not an answer. You gotta quantify that. So like, you being a beer judge, what does it look like if that is the underlying premise of that someone's trying to say?
Remember, not a beer judge, Josh. I'm not a beer judge. I was a beer judge for you for the Kolsch.
But you're working. But you are. You're right. Sorry. As someone who is more interested in being precise to styles, as according to the BJCP handbook. How about that?
There you go.
Cover my safe bases. If someone, if someone were to try to elaborate, I don't even know what that looks like because that's such a vague statement. To say it's good, but it's not the style. Like, I mean, I've done that too.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that could be flaws that you would say that, like it could be very hoppy, right? And then it's like a pale ale, and you're like, well, that's not a Kolsch, I was trying a couple of amber ales side by side last week from Texas breweries that my buddy brought over, and they were as far as the east is from the west. I mean, one of them tasted just like Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, and I was like, okay. And then you have this other one that's a total malt bomb, and it's just, I mean, breweries can obviously make whatever beer they want to make.
Yeah,
and it doesn't have to be BJCP, but when you're doing a BJCP judging event, you're obviously going to be judging according to the style guidelines. So, it's hard to know what Todd means when he says that exactly.
I have to get him on the show sometime. I have to ask him.
Yeah. When he's not too busy to talk to you.
When he's not too busy to hang out with me. No, speaking of that, like one of my favorite breweries in the world, and they happen to be around the corner from me, a town around from me in Blanco, Real Ale. I absolutely love Real Ale. Hans Pils is probably my favorite German Pils that's commercially made. But they have they call it their American Pale, and it's Swifty. I'm sure you've had Swifty. And it's so hoppy. And every time I drink it, I'm like, is this a pale? Is this just a straight up pale? Or is this an IPA? And like you said, they can do whatever they want and call it whatever they want.
And I feel that way. Sometimes some of the pale ales I've had in England have been so hoppy. And like I had one time and then took a nap, and 3 hours later I could still taste the hops in my mouth. I was like, what on earth? It was wild.
Oh, that's awful. Again, I misattributed you as a judge, but I do want to ask you, like, you have had more interest and you've assisted with other competitions, not just ours. Are you trying to be a judge, or what's stopping you from being full blown BJCP? A life?
I don't. Yeah, life is one thing, and the other thing is I don't think that I am that good of a taster. I judge with people who are judges, and as you do, you kind of talk about what you're tasting, what you're experiencing, and some of these guys are just like, oh, I taste this and that, and I'm just like, what are you talking about? I do not perceive all of these things that you're tasting.
Could they be making it up? Because you were paired with me, and I was making everything up. So just a disclaimer there. Like, could they just be really good liars? They
could be, yeah, yeah.
No,
could be. Yeah.
I don't even know the process though. Is it rounds of proving yourself before you are certified in a BJCP program, or is it just one test that you go and do? Because I've never looked into it.
Well, there's different levels, but it is a written test that you have to do to get like the first level of certification, and you have to have a pretty extensive knowledge of the guidelines, like from memory. You can't look it up, kind of thing. You have to be able to do it from memory, and then so there's like a written portion where you're doing, the guidelines from memory, and then there's a tasting portion where you're actually tasting samples, and you have to do score sheets on them, and the judges are there too, and I think they also sample the beers, so they I think they do their own scorecards and they kind of compare yours to theirs. But it takes a long time to process the scores from those tests. And then as you go higher and higher level, they just demand more ability and
like
that sort of thing.
Accuracy,
but,
ability.
People who've done it recently have said, that the writing is a lot because it's time. There's a very strict time limit on it, and people say their hand just cramps up from writing so much because they expect you to write a lot. They don't want you to say good beer, 45 done.
Hey, okay,
that's not gonna
another jab at
work.
Todd. I like that. we had the champion on, Robert Abbott, and he just laughed because the year before Todd gave him probably the highest score I've seen Todd give anyone. It was like a 49.5. But he got third, I think. The way we did it last year and every year before this year was 2 rounds and just going off of cumulative score, like no discussion, whatever. And we'll talk more about that here in a little bit. But Robert was like, it's so funny because Todd's score sheet was just like, wonderful smell, great Kolsch. This, with the score where, like you said, BJCP, and I do that too. If Todd sometimes does listen, let me go back before he fires me. Todd's not unique in not being a real judge. James and I are also both not real judges. So sometimes the writing, the very first Kolsch Cup we did, here's how dumb I am. I forgot that these scorecards go to individuals. They're not seeing it with each other. So I was like, I can be redundant in my word choice. The first Kolsch Cup, I was so terrified of repeating myself. And I was like, wait a second. But sometimes you have to repeat yourself because it's relevant. And also, these people don't talk to each other. Why do I care if I write the exact same descriptive for this person? Who am I trying to impress? But back to BJCP stuff. The writing, I imagine, is such a bummer because, one, we're not really used to doing that as adults anymore in 2025. We don't handwrite a ton. But also, I bet it's like, I just bet it's overwhelming because of how much there is to know about any given style that your average consumer has no idea, right? In regards to like the malt notes you're supposed to get from this style, the hops, the bittering part, the aroma, what yeast tastes like if it was stressed out on the high temperature side, what yeast tastes stressed like if it was low. Yeah. Like I can't even, I can pretend at a reasonably functioning level, but I can't fathom like the different levels. And I didn't realize it was different levels because that sounds very much like refereeing a sport where like, oh, you know what, Josh, you're qualified for the kids pitch baseball on that field, but MLB is like 20 years away from your reach in regards to qualification.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, I think it's like they have like certified, and then there's a level called national, and then there's grandmaster, and there's all these different levels.
Is Cicerone even? That's one thing.
That's
right?
That's a different thing.
Right, but does it have anything to do with? It doesn't have anything to do though with beer critique. That's just beer knowledge, right?
No, it's beer and food pairing is a lot of it. So it's kind of the beer version of a sommelier for wine.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, it has a lot to do with beer pairing with food, but that's a totally different program. It doesn't have anything to do with BJCP.
Right.
There are some people that have both.
If I could go back in time, if I could go back in time, I'd be the guy to invent the program because that's the best part. You just made stuff up. You don't have to know it. You're just like, I'm trying to do that at making Kolsch Cup. I only had a handful of Germans message me actually angry that it is not a world championship. How can you do that? And I'm like, the trophy says world champion. The t-shirts say world champion. Come fight me. Like, what are you going to do about it?
You are welcome to enter.
Yeah, you can enter.
Anyone is welcome to enter.
Yeah, and there was some Kolsch competition. I saw our friends from the former Brewed Up podcast. They just stopped doing it last year. Tyler and Lori. They in California had King of the Kolsch, and I saw it on their Instagram recently, and I was like, and it was commercial. It was like 25 Californian breweries submitted all their Kolsch for this competition, and I was just like, see that. it's cool, man. It's a style that people want to brew and enjoy. And then I told her, or I messaged the thing like, King of the Kolsch. Kolsch Cup was what came to my mind first, and because there's gonna be a trophy and all that, I like King of the Kolsch. I wish I would have come up with that too. I'm trying to, but that's not the world championship. Kolsch Cup is the world championship for brewing, and if commercial breweries want to submit it, we're open to that. It's a very low entry fee. Yeah. We'll send you a shirt, one shirt for your brewery. You've entered our competitions, you've won our competitions, and you've placed in our competitions. As a judge in our competition, I wanted to ask you your thoughts in helping us judge, like the round formats, the entries that you were able to taste, and just your critique of what we could do better, because we did change the final round based off your recommendation, and I think it went really well. But like, what is your perception of the recap? And now in hindsight, we're a month past from Kolsch Cup, basically. What is your recap of that experience as a judge as opposed to a competitor?
Yeah, I was real impressed with, you and I, we did 12 entries just ourselves before they went to the final round. I was really impressed with the quality of all the beers that we did. Because I know Wes and Todd, they thought, some of the beers that they had weren't a Kolsch. And I really thought everything that we had was definitely a Kolsch, and they were all well done. There were none that were flawed in any way. Even any infection or anything like that would show up in a Kolsch. There wasn't anything like that. So yeah, I was pretty impressed with the quality of the entries we got. And then I liked the way we did the final round. The only thing I would have liked, and I think it would have made for a better recording, is if we could have put on the screen like 1 is this entry, 2 is this entry, 3 is this entry, just kind of on the corner of the screen, because people following along. There was one camera view that you had that was kind of up high, and you could kind of look down and see the bottles better. But the one you used most of the time was kind of
too straight on, right?
Yeah, and you couldn't really distinguish what we were talking about as far as what number it was. You just saw bottles started getting pulled off, and so I don't know that people were really able to follow along. I think people who did well probably were able to go back and rewatch and figure out as we were talking. But yeah.
So the only critique is on the production side.
Yeah, the post-production side. Yeah.
You're right. If you know what, I could have went back and added here's the thing. I'm going to throw James under the bus. I had much bigger plans on the production part, but I had to end up being a judge. And I'm not throwing him under the bus. James had to work because Todd and I were playing hooky. So it's not even a detriment. It just shows he's a good worker and cares about his profession. Yeah. Where Todd and I were like, gosh, let's just do it. So when he apologized in text, like, can't make it, I'm so sorry. And I don't think I replied. I talked to him after the fact, but it's just like, dude, you're not going to ever. Yeah, that's fine. You don't do what you got to do. But next year, I really do, or next competition, because I'm so close to confirming Horst for Alpo Call. Y'all have heard it here first, friends. We are so close to confirming him sometime in October. If he comes, I really do. I want to make sure I can get 4 people as only judges, so I can just do production side. Because I agree with what you're saying. If I could have, we were trying to get it done, and also the monitor was there, and I wanted it to be anonymous for you guys on the final round. Do you think that I think anonymity matters, just because, like, if maybe this is more of a confession than an indictment on you guys. If I had a number from the first round that I was really fond of, I fear if I knew that number going into it, I would have more emotional attachment to it from like the first. You know what I mean? Like, it just like, oh, that's one Jonathan and I put through. I want it to do well, like that kind of like that's not a forethought in my brain, but it's in there where. Because you and I, of how many were in the final? Was it 9? I think
Yeah,
9 at the
and
final,
we had 6.
and we had 6 of them because
Yeah.
Todd and Wes were way harsher, I think, because we didn't drink any of their first rounds that weren't in the final. I didn't, at least. I don't know if you went back and opened any up.
No, I didn't.
So I can't verify whether or not they were correct that, it was just not a good Kolsch. But they only felt confident sending 3. And let's talk about that. The final round in years past, our final round was a firm number of top 5 scores, where I like your idea of, here's our score, and let's just say, don't even care about the number. We think it's worthy of consideration in the final round. That's what you think is the best policy for a beer event or a competition.
Yeah, I do. And because the number in all the BJCP ones that I participate in, the number just gets you to the next round. And at that point, the number doesn't matter. So it's funny, like I had a competition I was in last weekend. I had 2 entries in there, and one of them advanced to the next round and won second place, and the other one didn't advance. The one that didn't advance had a higher score than the one that placed.
Isn't that wild?
So
but that also to me proves that subjectivity, like we've gotten grief from people in years past. We've had bigger influencers in our space, which just sounds weird to say because there's homebrewing influencer. That's what I strive to be, and they hate me. But I've had people with a bigger following enter before, and when they put their card, this is like maybe the first Kolsch Cup or the second Kolsch Cup, they put their scorecard on their Instagram, and we're just getting dogged as an event in the.
Oh, really?
Oh, which doesn't bother me, dude. Again, you cannot hurt me. I've worked for Todd Burns for 17 years, 17 plus years. You can't hurt me. There's nothing you could say to actually hurt me. But they'd be like, oh my God, who scored that, a 44, and who gave this just dogging as an event. And I remember looking at that like, whoa, what could we do different? But then I realized, like, no, we don't have to pretend to be like a BJ. We don't have to pretend to be anything other than what we are. Yeah. But also, like you said, I like where I'm going with this. The final round, the score not necessarily having to matter. The score is a reflection of that judge's individual perception at the time they drink that sample, and you get a written explanation of that, and that's wonderful. And if that judge or that group of judges, like how we do our event, determines it's worthy of going on, then boom, it's worthy of going on. We had one, I don't remember which one it was. It wasn't one of the ones that won or placed. But remember, we sent one where you were like, if it didn't go, I'm fine with that. And I was like, no, let's send it. And it was like, okay, let's send it.
We had 2.
Oh, was it 2?
We had 2 like that. Yeah, because we would have had 4. They had 3 and we had 4 that we both were real close on. But then we had 2 other ones that you were high and I was low, and it was a pretty big split. It was,
none of those
7
won,
or 8
though.
points difference.
No,
and both of them were eliminated pretty quickly.
Okay, so that's what I thought.
So I was pleased with, because if they had gone on and the other 2 guys had been like, oh yeah, that's really good, then it would have confirmed your thoughts on that they were.
We cannot have that. Don't. Well, that's why
it could have.
What
could have been that way.
Wasn't it not? Was it? I mean, the grand champion was because of you and Wes, right? Like, I mean, y'all were the determining factor for it, and that is the thing. In my household, Jonathan, there is no democracy. I am a fascist dictator, and so I'm not used to obeying democracy. But I actually, kidding aside, I do think that's ideal. Is there a better way? I mean, besides the production stuff, we get it. The production sucked, but besides that part of it. To me, I think we've dialed in the format that's best for getting, assessing beer entries and determining who's worthy and who's not. But then also the entertainment stuff. Looking back, other Kolsch Cups did good, and viewers liked it, and entrants liked it. It's so much more entertaining, though. The Alt-Po call, I don't know if you watched it. There was no discussion really at the end. It was just like, this one is good. This one's good. Okay, we all agree. Go. Kolsch Cup this year, it was fun. Like there was some points where Todd was getting frustrated, and I'm getting frustrated. Like one of the beers I loved, y'all were all like, no, and I was like, what are y'all talking about? I think is that now. We might be the only homebrew competition that records the process. I wish we could live stream. Starlink, Elon, do something, man. I thought Starlink was supposed to be reliable. Not in Brownwood, Texas, or Blanket, Texas. It is not, but not the upload speeds. But I think we've dialed it in, right? Like this is as good as it gets, or is there still more tweaking you would do from the event side, not anything in regards to how it's presented, but like just the format side?
I think maybe you could anonymize the bottles better, and even before the second round, just strip the numbers off them and just have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, some of them are going to be obvious because it's going to be a weird shaped bottle like that one we had, or it's going to be a can because we only had one can. But I think if you further anonymized things, I think that would be a nice improvement.
I think if we do alt pull call and I get 4 judges, that does not include me, I think that would make it infinitely easier. Because I was also here's how, like, people sometimes accuse me of showing favorites or whatever, just like why you're on the show, Jonathan. You and you're not even working right now. You're using all that Kolsch Cup and alt pull call money to travel. That's
absolutely travel world.
All that Marut Minute money. We've just for whatever reason picked you as a favorite. Just here, take our money. No, but I have been accused before, and I don't know if you noticed. I'm not asking for kudos. I was trying. I did everything I could to be included with not knowing the names of the entrants for the beer, and not knowing in the final round which one was which after the initial 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like numbering them. Because I was, again, one thing I overthink is like, I don't want people to think this is a setup, or that this is, in wrestling we call it kayfabe, where in pro like, where I don't want people to think it's a work. It's not a work. Like, this was a real legitimate competition that people entered, and we are trying to give everyone the same fair shake as the other entrants. Not, oh, my buddy Jim from Georgia, I love that guy. Okay, well, now I'm going to judge it differently. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want that accusation. And in fact, I try so hard, and then I'll get people, if I criticize their beer, it turns out to be like a longtime Trub Club member, and they're like, Josh, what the heck, man? I'm like, no, it wasn't on you. Don't take it personal. I separated for that reason, because otherwise I'm not a nice person. Let's get that out of the way. But I would totally be the one to be like, oh God, Jonathan sent this in. I like Jonathan. And either give you hell because it's funny, or overly walk on eggshells, like, oh, that is interesting. Let's see. I'm gonna give it a 22, or But anyway, I agree with what you're saying though. Having it stripped down even more so would have been more ideal. But it did work out. I don't think anyone was swayed by, I mean, that one bottle that they judged that got eliminated first, I think it wasn't a bad beer, but it was obvious, like they knew that was their beer in the final table, because it was the most unique shaped bottle. But that's on the entrance, right? Would you say then I should pour them and then bring the cups to the table, no bottles at the table whatsoever?
You could do that. Yeah.
I'm just trying.
I mean, it's kind of an easy way to visually show that something's been eliminated when you take the bottle away. Yeah. Because the cups are still there, but then you see the bottles disappear. So it kind of helps to keep track of what's still in and what's not. Yeah. So,
well, I will. I actually on my phone started writing notes. People think this is an episode. I'm just picking your brain for how to do a better event. The first note I wrote was,
and I will definitely volunteer to come down for Alt Pokal too, if you want to make sure you have 4 judges so that you can.
Don't tease me. I'll take you up.
I absolutely will. Well, it's so easy. It's 2-hour drive.
Yeah, it really is. And this time you could just stay the night.
Out there.
We could plan it out where you just stay. And that way you don't got to watch your drinking. You didn't keep the party. You didn't keep the party going. When you left, man, it was debauchery. It was just,
I bet,
cigar. Well, I say cigars. Todd, I stopped wasting. He cigars are too sensitive, or his stomach is too sensitive for cigars, and so I stopped giving him good cigars because he'd smoke half of it and then throw it, and I'm like, that was a $9 stick. Oh. So I started giving him cheap ones. But yeah, we had a great time. The pool, you didn't even get to swim because we
I know.
We gotta get you doing that. I will hold you up to it. So the stipulations that Todd has given me, and I can maybe work around it, especially if I know we can get you. He was ready to cancel it after we sold keconnection.com. We're not totally out of homebrewing at all, and Homebrew Happy Hour, thank God, does well thanks to members of patreon.com/homebrew happy hour club. I gotta get that in there every now and then. And join the rest for your even tier and get the Comanche Moon Summer Ale. Thanks to our sponsors, Muntins Malts, Hops Direct, and Imperial Yeast. You don't see it over there, but I just put that all on the screen. Thanks to our supporting members and thanks to the people who tune in, the dozens on YouTube and the tens of dozens on audio platforms, we're able to do what we do. But Todd was like, man, the competitions take up so much of your time, especially for like a 10-day period where I'm organizing everything and I'm trying to get all the graphic packages done and all that. I just don't think we need to do it anymore. But I'll let you keep Kolsch Cup. I was like, okay. But then he said, but if you can get Horst to come be a judge, we will do alt protocol. And Horst, my understanding, all I have to do is get his confirmation. Like in July, he'll have the rest of his year schedule, and whenever he's open in October is when we're going to do it. So I am like 80-20. And so if he confirms, I will then put a date on the calendar. I will get Todd and James to confirm that they can do it. And if Wes can't do it, you're a shoo-in for sure. If James can't do it, you're a yeah. I would love to take you up on that. And even if we do 5 judges, we'll figure it out. Because you know who Horst is, but I don't think you've met him before, right? I haven't
met him, no.
Dude, y'all have a blast. Like he is a walking encyclopedia of beer and knowledge. He is so fun. I cannot wait to have him there. We've never had him at the ranch. We've only hung out with him. Todd and I hung out with him in Vegas at CBC because he does all the shows, and it's so funny how there's people in our realm, John Palmer. Trying to think. For me at Lorena, but there are people I'll fanboy over, but not like Horst. Horst in person, I just like. I can't even he's just such a cool dude. But yeah, call. I'll take you up on that. I'm trying to look at the topic stuff, man. I think we covered everything I wanted to.
I should say, for anybody who's listening, anybody who's interested in becoming a BJCP judge, I would definitely encourage them to look into it. And there's like a first online screening test that you do, and you can progress on. One of the big problems with competitions these days is getting enough judges to process all the entries, and competitions have had to shrink their number of entries they allow and that sort of thing. So a lot of judges are aging out of it. They're dying, that sort of thing. So it's kind of just with the generalized decrease in homebrewing, some of the judges are going away. So I think the numbers of active judges has been falling.
Let me cover my tail real quick before people, especially audio listeners who are like, why was he laughing at that? It was just a funny way to word it, aging out. That's like now the kids say unalived and stuff. And I'm like, just say dead. What are you talking about? But yeah, aging out. That's not funny. That rest in peace, JCP judges who have died, obviously, no disrespect, but aging out, that's fine. I was literally, when you said aging out, I was thinking, oh yeah, I guess our palates get different as we get older. I know if I continue smoking cigars at the rate I do, Kolsch will be the only style I could judge. You know what I mean? Like I'm burning my palate, I guarantee you. But aging out, like, no, he died. Oh,
you're just getting ready for IPAs.
That's right. Oh, getting ready for IPAs. Todd, you and Todd and
we have got to do IPA cup. Don't Todd. We can do IPA cup.
The worst part is he was so on board. He was like, You became his best friend when you were saying that, and he was like, he's right. We should do an IPA cup. Like, no, please no. That's one for
I'll
sure.
Text him. I'll text him as soon as we're done here.
He writes the chat, so he'll be like, Josh, Alpercall's dead. We're doing the IPA cup. Anyways, dude, I know you. Like I said, you're I think on a leg on your way back home soon, right? So I sincerely appreciate your time and you coming and doing this, and safe travels and all that. And if I have to have you in a pinch, I know that you're up for it. So
yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about beer.
I appreciate it, my friend.
Easy.
I appreciate it, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks.
And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, you could email joshua@homebrewhappyhour.com. But even better, call in your voicemail to 325-305-6107. Get yourself that gift card to kegconnection.com. Thank you to our show sponsors like Muntons Malt, premium grains for a better brew day. If you aren't already brewing with Muntons, you can give them a try by joining our Trub Club at a recipe receiving level. For the best hops available online, give our friends at hopsdirect.com a visit and pick up what you need for your next brew day. Also, get a pack of premium Imperial yeast along with delicious recipes from us when you join the Trub Club. Have I mentioned that you should go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour and come brew with us? On behalf of the absent Todd Burns, James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thanks for listening.